Okay, we're new to chickens, as are probably most of you watching this, and we built our coop, we got our chickens, we placed our coop, our chickens are happy, but we now need some sort of automatic chicken door so we don't have to wake up at the crack of dawn every day to let them out, and also after the sun goes down and then whatever time they feel like going back in the coop, which is usually just after sunset, I've noticed. Now there is a solution to that, and it's called an automatic chicken door, and that's a door that essentially opens in the morning, lets the chicken out, and closes after they've all gone in for the night. Now there are multiple options out there, but the one that seems to be going around the internet as the best is this one right here. This chicken door is by Run Chicken, and it's made in Slovenia, which is pretty awesome. Now also, if you're watching this video, then you probably know how insanely expensive chicken doors are, and this one is no exception. This one we paid, I believe, $179 on Amazon. So that is a lot of money, but if it's made really well and it's gonna last forever, I can see that, I can see it. At any rate, we're gonna go ahead and unbox this thing, we're gonna install it, we're gonna use it, we're gonna see how it works out, and I'll tell you my final thoughts at the end of this video, whether I feel like it's worth the money, or maybe you should look for something else. So let's get started. Okay, let's go ahead and unbox this thing. So we'll flip it over. On the back here, it tells you where to open. So open here. I'm gonna go ahead and rip this thing open. Okay, so here it is. You have your manual, as well as this card here that says, for correct installation, use these screws that they included. And it looks like also a little plastic tab that says pull. I'm assuming that activates the batteries. Now looking at the back here, you can see it's just very simple. We have our mounting holes for the screws. You can see there's a gear mechanism in there, and that's what these holes are for, that goes down the center of the door. And that's it. It seems like it's powder coated. We got brown because that was the one that could come next day, but they do have various colors. Okay, so I just read through the direction booklet, and the very first step shows a picture of a guy marking out where I'm gonna have to cut. Now I'm gonna have to cut on the inside of the rails here, because if I cut on the outside, then of course there would be no wood left for me to screw screws in. The picture, however, doesn't say how they want you to open this door, and it might seem obvious, but maybe to some it isn't. I guess what I'm gonna do is just pull the tab and press the button, and I'm thinking that's how the door opens. Otherwise, I can imagine some people might try to force the door open because the directions don't say, hey, you know, pull the tab, press the button. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's see what happens. Tab's been pulled. Pretty cool. Now, that was a little loud. The reason why I wanted to listen to that is because, you know, through doing my research, watching other videos, I thought that same thing. I'm like, boy, that motor sounds a little loud. So I guess it is what it is. So I'm gonna take my pencil and go ahead on the inside of this frame here and just mark out where I'm gonna make my cut. Now, what this is gonna do is put a hole in this front door, and it'll still leave me wood here to be able to screw 3 screws to the bracket on the outside. Okay, so the best tool for the job to cut this hole out is going to be a jigsaw, which I have here. The only problem is you need a hole in the material so you can slip the jigsaw blade through it. So you do that by taking a drill bit that is bigger than the jigsaw blade. Also, real quick, I thought I'd point out, I had my jigsaw plugged into my Jackery. So this is the Jackery Explorer 300. And I didn't think it was gonna work, but my wife was like, just use the Jackery. I'm like, no, I'm gonna need 16 extension cords to get this thing plugged in out here. The Jackery worked perfectly. I'm really impressed. That is pretty darn good. I have plenty of meat here left in the wood to put my screws. Okay, so now that I've pre-drilled the holes, I already have 2 of the screws started. It's gonna be really easy for me to go ahead and place these screws and screw them in by hand. And as you'll see in the direction booklet, it talks about doing this by hand explicitly, and that's so you don't get it so tight that you're pinching these rails, causing the door to have a malfunction.
Everything seems to work perfectly fine.
Okay, so the next step, after the run chicken door is mounted, it says mandatory procedure, remove the drive unit by unscrewing the 4 screws. And then it shows you various steps to remove the drive unit. And this right here is the drive unit they're talking about. This entire thing comes off. And the reason why they want you to do that is because with this removed and the gear removed, you'll be able to move this door up and down with your finger to verify that it moves freely. That way the batteries will last much, much longer than if the door for some reason had a difficult time moving up and down. Okay, with the drive unit removed, I can now go ahead and use my fingers to verify that the path is completely clear of any obstruction, which it is.
Okay, the install is complete. Everything has been checked and we're ready to go. We're now gonna test exactly what happens if a chicken gets stuck in the way when the door is coming down. Okay, so it pressed down on it a little bit and then moved back up. Wow, it's not doing it that time. It's just holding it straight down. It will not come back up. Interesting. Okay, I think I know what's going on here, because that time it worked.
Okay, the last test was successful, and I think I know why. I feel like this door has a certain space, a certain zone where it checks for a stoppage, aka a chicken, in the way. And it'll stop once it senses that, and it'll open back up, and then it'll wait a few seconds, and then it tries to close again. The last time it didn't work, my wife's hand was all the way down here at the bottom, so I'm assuming that the door already went through that zone and was like, hey, we're closing. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a thing. So it's something to know that the door seems to work just fine as far as closing on a chicken, sensing that and reopening. Up here in the upper end, I think this last time when it actually did work, her hand was right here about the middle. Okay, so just to double verify that, I'm gonna do this again. So we're closing the door. I'm gonna have my hand way down here at the bottom. It worked that time. So I don't know why it didn't work the first time. It worked that time way down at the bottom. So I know this thing is functioning exactly like it's supposed to. See, it's closing again. And that's good. No idea why it didn't work with my wife's hand. It just worked with my hand. So it's just something to note.
Okay, we're gonna try this one last time with my wife's hand again and see if it gets stuck and does not wanna go back up. So here comes the door. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just this very last little 1-inch space where it's like, hey, we're closing no matter what.
So the only thing I can think on that is that her fingers, you know, at the very ends of her fingers are so, the space that it takes up is so small that the door thinks, you know, hey, we're already closed, we're closing, that's that, we've already went through our checks. Now, when my hand was there, it was the middle of my hand, so it's a lot thicker than my wife's little fingers, and that's why it seemed to work. So we've got it to work twice, where it stopped and came back up. We've also got it to not come back up twice. So I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to be. Obviously, that's how they programmed it. So it's just something to take note of. Well, I think that'll do it. The infamous Run Chicken door has been fully installed and tested, and we've had chickens going in and out, and it seems that it's perfect. So I guess time will tell how this thing holds up and whether or not we need to do any extra programming for the time that it actually opens and the time that it closes. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But I do hope you enjoyed this look at the Run Chicken door and how to put an automatic chicken door on your chicken door that's not automatic, which is what I did here. So anyways, if you did like the video, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up. It really helps the video and the channel. And if you're watching this far and you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. I'm Jimmy for the General Expert channel here on YouTube, signing out. Well, I promised I'd give you my final thoughts as to whether or not I feel like this Run Chicken door was worth the cost. And while I've only had it for a few days now, I have been closely monitoring the performance, and it's performed flawlessly. We haven't touched anything with the programming of the timing of the opening and closing of the door, so it still has the factory settings. And basically what that means is it opens about 20 minutes after it senses, you know, daylight, sunrise or something like that, which right now is just about 6 a.m. or maybe even a little bit before that. I checked this morning at about 6 and the chickens were jumping out. So I'm assuming it was right about then. And then at night, the sensor senses, that the light is low and it starts its 20-minute timer. And so right now, I think at about 8:12 p.m., it's shutting the door. But all of my chickens are usually in the coop completely at about 7:30-ish, something like that. What I have noticed is with this more consistent schedule, the birds seem to be going into the coop sooner because they're able to come out sooner in the day. So it seems like everything is working out really, really well. Now, is it worth the money? I mean, yeah, I wish it was a little cheaper, but so far everything has been working flawlessly, and we really like it. We're still closely monitoring it, making sure that everything works exactly like it's supposed to. But so far, I've had 0 issues and only good things to say about it. So I hope that helps somewhat in your decision-making process. I know it is expensive. It really is for a chicken door. But if it is the best one on the market, or at least a very, very good one, it might be worth it.